Now that the 2010s decade is ending, which trends are the most regrettable? Just all the family YouTube channels in general. You mean, exploit our children for views channels? Yeah, I'm talking Skylander boy and girl. I used to watch them when I was an idiotic child with a laptop. I remember them exploiting their newborn son Sean or Sean IDK. They seem to have ascended to Granny plus Baldi's basics clickbait. Don't ask why I remember so much. Rebooting everything for the sake of nostalgia instead of coming up with new ideas. It's like postmodernism. That weird mustache trend that was popular around 2013. You know, when teenagers would have mustaches on the phone cases, as jewelry and whatnot. Don't forget that nerd glasses. Also, mermaid or unicorn themed everything that was happening for a while. And bacon. Like, yeah, bacon's good, but damn, it's just a food. Don't forget about waffles xddd. Coney 2012. Oh my god, that was this decade. The 2010s is split pretty evenly into two decades. 1991 and 1998 looked very different from each other, just like 2019 and 2013 seem like almost different realities. I'd say 2010 to 2015 is really different from 2016 to 2019. Gangnam Style was 2013, but I couldn't imagine something like that taking off in 2019 tbh. Gangnam Style feels like a lifetime ago. Clickbait. I think you mean, these photos of the top 10 worst clickbait articles will shock you. Clickbait is just a new word for an old thing. It used to be competing newspapers creating increasingly hyperbolic or controversial headlines with half-truths or flat-out lies to sell more papers than the other guy. Now it's just digital. Crappy video games that is only there so you can pay to play. This isn't going to stop until people stop paying for it. Addiction is real. Funny you say that. Companies that produce those pay-to-win mobile games actually hire addiction experts. Anti-intellectualism, refusing to believe experts in their field over some crazy person on the internet. I think it got worse this decade and I hope we leave it here. Edit. Yes. You should use statistical analysis to critically analyze data presented. Yes. You should use common sense. And people deciding that they are an intellectual because they believe something strongly. Midget spinners. Wait. Stefan, what is a midget spinner? It's that thing where you put a trash can lid on a midget's head and spin him around on your hand when you get bored. The way people just shit all over things they don't understand. It happens with everyone, not any particular groups. I'm tired of seeing people so blatantly disrespectful towards things other people enjoy. If I like X and you like Y, why do you have to argue X versus Y? Can't we just have a meaningful conversation about X and Y both being shaped by V? Edit. Yes, I know this has been happening since the dawn of man. But it has become much more apparent with the widespread use of social media. So you just gonna ignore W like that? You alphabetist. S. My grandfather was killed by a W. What's wrong with you? Exclamation mark. Question mark. Exclamation mark. The W's did nothing wrong. Find a new slant. That one time we had a clown problem. Highly overdrawn lips and eyebrows, like, I can see where your real lip ended a half-inch back. The newer version of this trend isn't great, but the 1990s had emo, the worst overdrawing lip liner trend. Since the liner was intentionally much darker, I feel like this decade has gone pretty overboard with winged liner too. I'm just going to keep on keeping on with the winged liner. I've been doing it for the past 20 years. Going to keep doing it for the next 20. Winged liner's been around literally since people began wearing makeup, because it looks awesome. Long live winged liner. The rise of irresponsible journalism. The drop in civility. The drop in responsible use of social media. Social media making everyone feel like they need to be heard. It's one of the main reasons why stuff like anti-vaxxers, MLMs, Nazis, cancel culture, flat earthers, etc. exists. Misinformation is just spread like a disease within echo chambers like that. Social media has made me feel like everyone needs to shut the fuck up. I always say the internet is great because it gave everyone a voice. But I also say the internet sucks because it gave everyone a voice. Yes, and beside being heard, acting like everyone's voice was and should be equal. Random nut job on the street versus scientist shouldn't have an equally loud voice, just because nut job has more followers. Whatever the shit people are doing to their eyebrows. Like the 2000s were bad for eyebrows. But I'm not sure the appropriate corrective measure was to go from having the least brow possible to having the most brow possible and drawing them on so precisely you look like an anime character. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of people looking back on their eyebrows during these years with horror. The rat tail of our generation. I think the counter to this trend will be natural brows, or boy brows. I think women will start to grow out their brows and feather them, making them appear more full and unkempt. It's already a trend, but I think that within the next decade it will be the next big thing. None. Let's just pretend some of them never happened. This is a movement I can get behind. The obnoxious challenge culture edit. All these upvotes went to my head. Ugh. And some of the things people call a challenge. Anything that becomes a YouTube fad is apparently a challenge now. Or people will just put challenge at the end of their video title. Sandwich challenge. Can I successfully eat lunch? Gone sexual. Quote. Yeah, what lol, I've seen MUAs. People who do makeup for a living post things like smoky eye challenge. How the fuck is that a challenge? That's like a doctor or nurse being like stethoscope challenge. Let's see if I can hear the patient's heart. Just about everyone who wears makeup is capable of doing a smoky eye. It is not a challenge for a professional makeup artist to do it. Ice cream licking was the most obnoxious one yet. Social media influencers. You'll enjoy the 2020s, since companies start to realize that their marketing budgets are way better spent at some influencer than to spread old-fashioned commercials. Source: am paying influencers to use our products. I followed a bunch of girls I went to high school in hopes they'd post cool shit. Then immediately unfollowed them as they posted nothing but ads for bikinis and lingerie. I think you overestimate people's interest in looking at ads. The majority of interaction these girls get is horny dudes who are not going to be buying bikinis. See, famous girl with millions of followers who failed to sell even 20 items from her clothing line. They would sell a lot better used. The death of legitimate journalism. Replacing in with sound bites, partisan hacks, fake news and networks in such a rush to report anything that they don't bother to fact-check. Replacing in with sound bites, partisan hacks, fake news and networks in such a rush to report anything that they don't bother to fact-check. This used to be called yellow journalism. For those of you who weren't taught, yellow journalism and the yellow press are American terms for journalism and associated newspapers that present little or no legitimate, well-researched news while instead using eye-catching headlines for increased sales. Techniques may include exaggerations of news events, scandal-mongering, or sensationalism. By extension, the term yellow journalism is used today as a pejorative to decry any journalism that treats news in an unprofessional or unethical fashion, aka modern-day clickbait. Millennials are killing the X industry, often while completely missing that most of the millennials they're complaining about are years too young to be millennials, and that millennials aren't a single hive mind where everyone thinks the same. I always found that statement weirdly hypocritical. I thought we lived in a capitalist system, so shouldn't it be X industry fails to compete and dies by the hand of the free market? Not when the older generation owns it. If they fail, it's a malicious conspiracy. If youngsters fail, it's because they just didn't compete hard enough. Sounds like the older generation is flipping a coin and the rules are, heads I win, tails you lose.
Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.